Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Farrah, and today is going to be kind of a little monthly wrap up. I'm going to tell you guys everything I read in May. It's nearing the end of June, so again, I'm so sorry I can't get these up any sooner. Not that anyone's asking for them or I need to apologize, but I just wanted to say sorry I haven't been able to keep up with BookTube lately. It's just been a very busy time. I have a lot of things going on in my life right now, which are a bit stressful. But I'm still reading, and I do have a little extra time to film some videos today. So let's get started. May was a pretty good month, I would say. I had some new favorites for sure. Two, if I'm thinking, I have to look at my Goodreads, but I had one all-time new favorite, which might be my favorite of the year. So I'll tell you about that one. And then I had just some, mediocre. I do know that I did horribly in the Read What You Won't challenge this month. I think I only read maybe one book that I owned. The rest were all from the library, but I'm waxing and waning with that. Maybe if I have time, I'll film sort of like my thoughts at the 6-month point with the Read What You Won't challenge. I'm glad I'm doing it, but I'm not doing the best at it. I'm not gonna lie. I did unhaul a bunch of books though, which is great. So anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get started with the books that I read in May. Let me just pull up my Goodreads. I didn't prepare anything. I'm just gonna chat for a few minutes and let you guys know. So, all right, the first thing I finished in May was the autobiography I was listening to of Bob Dylan, and it's called Chronicles, Volume 1. This was written by him, and it focused mainly on his life once he got to New York City, and it talked about his journey of how he moved, why he moved there, what he did when he first got there, the different clubs he played in, up through his fame, and then past, into the end sort of his career. So it was really interesting, but there was a lot of name dropping, and I didn't know who a lot of these people were, so I was constantly looking them up to try to figure out how they fit into the timeline. And I thought it was going to focus more on, I don't know, his participation in the 60s with everything that was going on. But it was really surprising to hear some of the things I did learn about him, in that he wasn't really interested in being a public figure, so to speak. Not like Joan Baez. She was really in the public scene with advocating for the civil rights and for everything that was going on. And he was kind of not, let's just say he valued his privacy a lot. He valued his marriage and his children and his secrecy or anonymity quite a bit. I never knew that about him. So that was really good. I probably only gave this about 3 stars though, because I did feel it was a little bit all over the place. I didn't really enjoy the writing that much, but it was interesting. Definitely check it out if you're a Bob Dylan fan. But I think the general consensus was that it was a little bit disappointing, at least for me. I don't know. Another book I listened to as audio was called The Backyard Bird Chronicles by Amy Tan. And this was a book that was being read in a book club I'm in, but I didn't have time to participate in the group discussion. It's a hiking and reading book club. So you read the book and then you go on a hike together and you talk about the book. Unfortunately, I was busy during the day that they went on the hike, but I still ended up reading the book. So what I'll say about this one is that I listened to it as audio, and I don't necessarily recommend doing this as audio because the author, Amy Tan, who we know from the Joy Luck Club, well, first of all, she's a fantastic writer. The writing in this book was so beautiful. It was just a very intimate look on her experience of getting into the hobby of birding. And she also is an artist. So a lot of the pages in the book are her drawings and paintings of the birds that she sees. So not having the physical copy was, I think, took away from the overall experience. So I don't recommend this as audio. I recommend this as getting the actual book so you can flip through and see her artwork and her drawings. And the other thing I have to say is, which is why I don't think it works as well in audio, is that it's a lot of stuff about birds to listen to in a row. So I think this is a book that is really nice to savor, to put it on the nightstand or read it every morning. And I just think that way of absorbing those chunks of information is a little bit better. At least maybe it would have been for me. So with that all being said, I did enjoy it. She chronicles a few years. I think she gets into birding around the time of COVID, and she starts journaling about it, maybe even before COVID. But she really gets into it. So there's a lot of stories about the birds themselves. She creates these beautiful scenarios and she anthropomorphizes the birds quite a bit. And I did really like that, but it could be a little bit dramatic at some times. So I think listening to it as a full in one go audiobook was a bit much. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I didn't actually rate this because it was her personal experience and her choice to share it with the world, which is very brave. You know, you put yourself out there, you put your innermost feelings out there. She's so passionate about birds, which comes through in her writing. So if you're not at that level that she is, it can feel a little bit too much, maybe, in my opinion. But it was enjoyable. Next, I read Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes, and I loved this book. I loved it so much. It was just a thought-provoking book that I'm still thinking about. And if you don't know what it's about this man named Charlie who's in his early 30s, and he undergoes a brain experiment. At baseline, Charlie has an intellectual disability, so he functions at kind of a childlike level as an adult. He's able to hold a job. He's able to follow very simple commands. But he can write a little bit, but he hasn't really learned how to read or spell correctly. And he undergoes an experiment to increase his intelligence. And Algernon is the pet rat from the lab that they've done these experiments on. And this book is a book about him writing progress notes through this whole experience. And so it was so good. It was really good. Oh my gosh, Sorry, I ran out of storage while I was talking. So I think I was going on about how good Flowers for Algernon is, and it is an excellent book. And I actually filmed a reading vlog for this, so I'm not going to get into too many things about why I loved it, but I just thought that it was done so well. I started out listening to it as audio, and the narrator was fantastic. I think he really brought Charlie to life a lot, but I think this is a book also that you have to physically read or listen to the audio as you're reading it, because you see the changes in his writing, and that is a huge part of the book. So I recommend listening to it as audio while you're reading it, or just physically reading it. And it was so good. I loved it. So I'm going to edit my vlog for that and post that soon. So that was Flowers for Algernon. I gave it 5 stars. It was probably one of my favorite books of the year so far. Next, I read this book. This is a nonfiction book called Stop Letting Everything Affect You: How to Break Free from Overthinking, Emotional Chaos, and Self-Sabotage. So this is one I actually listened to as audio. Again, I did a lot of audiobooks. The author is the narrator. I believe it's the same person, and he has an Australian accent. And this was read very well. I really enjoyed the experience of listening to this as audio. And I'm not going to get too much into this as well, because this is I read it for personal reasons and I don't want to share that. But I did think that a lot of what was in this book was really helpful to me. I felt better by the end of it. I felt like I learned more things about myself and my personality and how I have reacted to certain things in my life and certain relationships and things like that. So I don't know really to say if I could recommend this, because these are very personal to the people that pick them up. But I think if the title is something that, you can relate to, then I think maybe it would work well for you. I don't know. It's really hard to say. Some people on Goodreads didn't care for it that much. I thought it was great. The only thing I will say, which can be something that people don't like, is that the author, you could tell there was a tiny bit of religion undertone, just a tiny bit, maybe 2 instances he mentions God. And he does talk about the biblical story pertaining to Job. But I didn't find it to be, it wasn't preachy at all. It wasn't going on and on about religion, not at all. But some people were not happy that he added anything like that into this book. For me personally, I'm a very spiritual person. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm highly religious, but what he was alluding to a lot of the time made a lot of sense to me. So I really enjoyed this. I gave it 5 stars, and I bought a physical copy to reread someday at my own time, or at my own pace. Yeah. So that was that one. I also picked up and enjoyed Cold Comfort Farm. This one I just physically read, as you can see. And this was really fun. I had a good time with this. I really did end up enjoying it. Once I knew what the author was trying to do, it clicked. It clicked with me, and I had a good time with it. So this follows our main character, whose name is Flora. She becomes orphaned, and she ends up going to live with her relatives in a place called Cold Comfort Farm. She's a city girl. She's young, she's in her early 20s, and she's very practical. She loves to clean up other people's messes. She likes things to be tidy. She doesn't like a lot of drama. And what this book does is it pokes fun at the stereotypes that were present in the Gothic rural novels that were popular at the time this was written. So books by D.H. Lawrence. So it's like, if you read this not knowing that, I think that it could be hit or miss, honestly, with the things that go on, because the characters are so out there. The family members on this farm, they're stereotypical of these people. Like there's one character named Seth who's like very over sexual. He's very like, they describe him as animal-like. There's a cousin named Elfine who's like a woodland sprite. You know, she's she writes poetry, she's dramatic, she's all over the place. There is a very religious preacher who's over the top. So she kind of goes in and she helps them with their lives and brings them kind of to a more modern, toned down way of being. So it was funny. I loved it. I love the sense of humor. I love the character of Flora. And I did a reading vlog of this too. So you can, hopefully I'll get that edited and posted at some point. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I gave it about 4 stars. And then finally, my final book that I finished in May was a book called I, Medusa. And this was a retelling of the story or myth of Medusa told strictly from Medusa's point of view. I feel like I finished this a while ago, so I'm struggling to share my thoughts on it. I think I will have a vlog on this one too. But just to wrap it up really quickly, this was a 5-star read for me. I read a book that was another retelling of Medusa not that long ago. It was called Stone Blind. And that I also gave 5 stars too. So these were completely different types of books though. In Stone Blind, we have multiple points of views following Medusa's story. And Medusa's kind of held at a distance. Like she's there, but it's like people around her are kind of telling the story more. But in I, Medusa, it's told in the first person point of view, just from Medusa's point of view, the entire story. So we really get to know this character. She was such a bright, kind, brave, humble person in this book. And it goes through her experiences of becoming a priestess for Athena and then what happened with Poseidon. But it was just, the world building was really beautiful. Her inner thoughts were great. You were really rooting for this character. You really fell in love with this version of Medusa. And, you know, when you know the story and you know what's going to happen, there was a good amount of tension in it, and I liked how she played certain scenes out. The scene where Medusa gets changed by Athena was really well done, but the ending, it just really wrapped everything up. There was a central theme about, you know, who's the real monster and accepting yourself and loving yourself, and it was just great. I loved it. I loved it so much. So between Flowers for Algernon and I, Medusa, those were my 2 favorite books of the month, and definitely probably going to be favorites for the year. So that was my wrap up. Hope you guys are doing well. As for June, I have picked up a few more things. I've read a couple things and finished a few things too, but what I'm currently reading right now is I'm doing a buddy read with my wonderful, wonderful friend Mark from Book Time with Elvis. We are reading A Passage to India by E.M. Forster, and I'm about halfway through that, and it's going pretty well. It's on the greatest books of all time list. This is the 3rd from the end. So I've read Clarissa and I've read Candide, which will be in my June wrap up. And now I'm on to this one. So yeah, enjoying talking with Mark about this. And then I'm also listening to an audiobook called My Side of the Mountain, which is a middle grade book about a boy who leaves his home in New York City, and he travels to the Catskill Mountains and lives off the land. I saw this movie when I was young. I loved it. He's living in a tree. He has a pet falcon. It's such a cozy book. And it's narrated by the same guy who did Flowers for Algernon. So I really love that connection. It's like I'm hearing Charlie again through this narration. So that's been great as well. So those are the books that I'm working on. So I'm also trying to finish up an ebook I started about a year ago called The Invisible Art of Detection, which has been going well. So thank you guys so much for watching I really appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who watched the Color Purple vlog I made recently in my book haul. So it's just nice to know, even if I can't post all the time, you guys are still here and supporting my channel, and I really do appreciate that. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful summer and enjoying whatever you have going on and enjoying whatever books you're reading. And please let me know what you're reading or if you've had any new favorites. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.